Well, I was very fortunate to meet our next speaker, who is going to absolutely blow you away with her expertise. Catharine Arnston is the founder, CEO, and Chief Scientific Officer of ENERGYbits. She is an expert in algae for wellness, nutrition, beauty, biohacking, mitochondria, and longevity. Her journey into the fascinating world of algae began in 2008 when her younger sister was diagnosed with breast cancer and advised by her oncologist that an alkaline diet would improve her healing. Catharine left her 25-year corporate career to help her sister identify the foods that would be most alkaline, which led her to discover algae, the most alkaline, chlorophyll-rich, high-protein, nutrient-dense food in the world. So Catharine is going to speak all about algae. Please welcome to the stage Ms. Catharine Arnston.
Okay, well, strap in because I'm going to give you 12 years of research in 30 minutes. And a couple things I want you to know is in your handout is a blue card with a QR code on it. So everything I'm showing you on the slide presentation is there, so you don't need to take any notes. The second thing is I have a table up in the room, so if you have any questions, you can come and talk to me all day long. So I want to thank Christina, first of all, for organizing this and inviting me. And I want to have you each consider yourself a citizen scientist. Dr. Tomas is doing amazing research, but you do not need to be a PhD or an MD to learn how your body works and what it needs to work better. And I'm an example of that. I am completely self-taught. I have other degrees, but I do not have a science degree. But I have as much knowledge as a PhD because I am dedicated to helping you and the rest of the world get healthy using natural things that have been already here but nobody's told you about. So anyways, I welcome and encourage you all to do the same. The science is there, just learn about it. And I'm gonna make it as easy as possible to get started. So the reason why we're all here is because we have different health issues going on. It could be gut, it could be brain, it could be cancer, it could be longevity. We all are dealing with it. And we're all trying to figure out what's causing these issues. Well, I'm just like Dr. Tomas mentioned, I'm going to tell you that almost virtually everything is based on damaged DNA, mitochondria DNA. And it's made worse by the nutrients that you are missing in your DNA, your mitochondria are missing, and toxins that are surrounding you and in your body. But the good news is we have a solution. But let's back up a little bit. Let's find out what exactly this mitochondria stuff is. As Dr. Tomas mentioned, they're called organelles. They're in your cells. They generate ATP. ATP is used by all of your cells for everything from sleeping, breathing, walking, talking. But the problem is when you get ATP produced, there's also free radicals produced. And we all know that free radicals are damaging. And the free radicals damage the mitochondria DNA in the inner membrane, which is where your ATP is produced. And these free radicals are damaging your mitochondria every nanosecond. Don't worry, there's a solution. The mitochondria control everything in your health. And I'm going to show you why in a few minutes. And when they are damaged, they accelerate aging, they accelerate disease. And when they aren't damaged, you can have a much healthier, longer life as you live. So what does mitochondria DNA, damaged DNA look like? Well, it could be any of these things. It could be all of these things. Each one of us is different. But all of these things are caused by mitochondria DNA. Not just mitochondria damage, mitochondria DNA damage. Now, when you have free radicals damaging your cells, it's sort of what happens to an apple. It kind of gets, it's called oxidation. Think of oxidation as rusting. Oxidative stress is like rusting of your cells. And so they go from a normal cell, they're attacked by free radicals, and then they look like mush. Years ago I used to see those apple dolls with their heads were all like this shrunken little apple. That's what's going on in your cells too, and that's not a good state. But again, we have a solution for you. So I want you to understand how this all works. Okay, here's your cell. And in your cell, you have a nucleus, and you have these little peanut-shaped things called mitochondria. Now, inside, and I'll show you in a minute, but there are up to 2 million of these little peanut things in each cell in your brain. 2 million. They're realizing Alzheimer's, dementia, ADHD, all of these diseases are mitochondria diseases because the mitochondria in your brain are not functioning properly. There's also, the next highest is in women's eggs, and the next after that are your heart and your organs and your muscles. Basically, the more mitochondria per cell are in your cells where there are high demands for energy. So anyways, back to the cell. You have your nucleus, you have your millions of these per cell in your brain, and inside these mitochondria, this is where ATP is produced. But this is also where your mitochondria DNA are located. And when ATP is produced, free radicals are produced, and they are frying your mitochondria DNA. Now, your regular DNA over here, it's in the cheap seats. It's nowhere near where the action is, nowhere near where the free radicals are being produced. Your regular DNA, they call it nuclear DNA or cellular DNA, they last a lifetime. Your mitochondria DNA, average lifespan is 10 to 30 days. Why? Because they are getting fried every nanosecond. Have you ever sat by a fireplace or a bonfire and sparks fly and you get too close, you could get burned? Well, that's exactly what's happening to your mitochondria DNA. They are getting fried and burned by the free radicals that are being produced by the ATP production. So, you've got to figure out how to protect those mitochondria DNA because they control everything. As I mentioned, in your brain, you have 2 million mitochondria per cell. Women's eggs, by the way, all of your mitochondria DNA, all of it comes from women. Your regular DNA, half comes from the sperm and half comes from the women's eggs, but all of it comes from women. And again, your heart disease is a mitochondrial disease. So we've got to find a way to protect these mitochondria. But here's the problem. The mitochondria are like a fortress. Your regular antioxidants, vitamin C, all of those, vitamin A, all those traditional antioxidants cannot get in the inner membrane, and I'm going to tell you why, of the mitochondria. So normally you could stop free radical damage with fabulous antioxidants, but you can't. There are only 4 antioxidants that can get into that inner membrane, and they're glutathione, melatonin, chlorophyll, superoxide dismutase, and as you're going to find out in a minute, algae has the highest concentration of all 4 of these in the universe. And there is virtually no food supply that gives you any of this in any medicinal quantity, and even if you took it in supplements, most of it gets damaged in your stomach. So we're going to you're going to find out why algae is going to save you. So these are the 4 antioxidants that can stop the free radical damage in your inner membrane. None of them are very available in food, none of them are very absorbed by supplements, and none of them are produced by your body after you as you age. These 3, glutathione, melatonin, and superoxide dismutase, are produced by your body, and in lots of quantity. When you're young, and you're a teen, and you're 20, and you're partying, and you're going out, and you can get up, you sleep well, you party well, you do everything well. But when you start hitting 30, the production of these 3 start deteriorating. And by the time you're 60 or 70, you have virtually none. This is what's causing disease, because there is nothing protecting those mitochondria DNA from damage. So here's what happens. Here's the chart. It doesn't matter whether it's melatonin, mitochondria, and your mitochondria decrease as you age, superoxide dismutase. I put chlorophyll in there. Your body doesn't create chlorophyll. But as you age, let's face it, you eat less vegetables. You're not interested. You're not interested in cooking. You have digestive issues because you probably don't have as many digestive enzymes. And by the way, the food that we eat now has virtually no chlorophyll in it. My arugula goes yellow after about 3 days. I don't know about yours, but there's nothing. It's because there's virtually no chlorophyll in there to start with. As you're going to find out, algae has the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world, 500 times more than arugula, 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll, and I have all the lab tests at my table to prove it. So here you are, having a great time, 20, 30, and then boom, shit happens. Everything starts dropping. That's when you start getting fatigue. That's when you start getting muffin tops. That's when you start having brain fog. And it's not just the toxins. The toxins exasperate it and speed up the process. And if you don't do something to stop that inflammation, so inflammation is causing all that disease that we're seeing, and 90%, by the way, of that inflammation is in the mitochondria. It's not just wandering around, it's in the mitochondria. So you're on this slippery slope. This is why you can't sleep. This is why everyone's getting cancer. This is why everyone's getting all these chronic diseases. But you can change that trajectory when you start taking algae. you can literally flatline that inflammation, because now you're getting all the superoxide dismutase that you need. We're going to talk about that in a minute. All the chlorophyll, all the glutathione. These are the things that protect your mitochondria. This and the keto diet. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So as if that wasn't enough, and we're going to go into greater detail, so I'm just in the preamble, why you should be taking algae, because it gives your mitochondria everything that it needs to survive and thrive. Check this out, and Dr. Tomas alluded to this. Where do the mitochondria come from? Well, turns out they come from algae. Yep, they are brothers. So this is why when you take algae, you're basically giving your mitochondria itself. This is why algae has everything that the mitochondria need, because it came from algae. How does this all happen? Well, there's this, it's called endosymbiotic theory. Blah, 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 4 million years ago, no oxygen on life. Earth was just gas and water. Nothing lived. We do not know why the first cell started growing, but it did. And it was a cyanobacteria, like spirulina. Spirulina, algae, is a bacteria, no cellulose wall. Now, it was called an anaerobic cell because it didn't need oxygen to survive, and it created ATP as it produced. But the production, as they produced ATP, they released oxygen. So 1 billion years later, there was a lot of oxygen on Earth, so much so that this little cell wasn't doing very well. Meanwhile, a bigger cell started showing up, and I can imagine that was aerobic, and I can imagine the conversation with the big aerobic cell talking to the little anaerobic cell. Hey, little buddy, see you're having a little struggle there. How about we protect you from all the oxygen, and we're not doing so good making ATP, so instead of eating you, why don't you come and join us, and we'll hang out together. Sort of like, if you have a friend who gets kicked out from their apartment, and they go, hey, can I come and stay with you? And you go, oh, well, I don't know, but okay, fine. Then they come and stay with you. They cook for you, they pick up your groceries, they pick up your dry cleaning, they do your laundry, and you go, hey, stay forever. It's exactly what happened. So the little mitochondria, or the cyanobacteria like spirulina, that was by itself originally, got absorbed, engulfed is the technology, by the bigger cell and stayed. And it became mitochondria. Now, this is why there is a second cell in mitochondria, and again, I'll go into greater detail in a minute, where nothing can get in there, because all of your cells have lipid cell membranes. And these this is where cell communication occurs, this is where nutrients get in and toxins get out, and they get in and out through something called porins. They're little channels that allow stuff to go in and out. And so mitochondria does have that outer membrane. But see this other thing in the middle? That's the original membrane from when it was over here. Because when it got engulfed, it just had a second membrane put around it. But because the original membrane does not have porins, all your traditional antioxidants can't get in there. And the only ones that get in there are the ones that were there originally. Glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and chlorophyll. And so that's why algae has everything that your algae needs, or your mitochondria need, because they basically are family. So here's another sort of picture. Cyanobacteria by itself, like spirulina, gets engulfed by the big guy, and then it becomes mitochondria. So it's pretty crazy. It's all documented in science, and everything I am telling you, by the way, is all documented in science. It's been around for 60, sometimes 100 years. But the problem is scientists like to talk to other scientists. Now, when I started down this path, when my sister got sick and I started researching plant-based nutrition, which led me to algae, I basically kept telling the universe, find somebody else. I don't know any science. But I realize I am the perfect person to do this, because I was in your seat in the same spot 12 years ago, not knowing any science. And once I started digging into the science, and I started connecting the dots in a way that nobody else has done, it started to make sense to me. And this is the beautiful thing about truth. It resonates with you. When you understand how your body works, and when you see the things that your body needs, it's much easier for you to take control over your health again. It does not have to be mystery, and it does not have to be scary. But one of the great things is, your mitochondria love algae because they are the same. And what they do is the two things that you need. They reduce the free radicals, and they remove the free radicals. And so that's why your mitochondria love it so much. But let's go next to what exactly is algae, and then a little deeper dive into what exactly the mitochondria are and why the two of them are essential. So what is algae? Well, as I mentioned, it was the first life on Earth, so almost 3-4 billion years ago. It is a food. It is not a supplement. It is an ancestral food. You can't get any more historic, original, paleo ancestral than algae. It was the first living thing here. It's keto, vegan, paleo, highest protein in the world, highest chlorophyll in the world, highest melatonin in the world, highest glutathione. I feel like I've got a child prodigy on my hands. And it does just about everything. By the way, it's been a food crop in Asia for over 50 years. It is a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop. It is as big as the beef industry is here. And it drives me crazy that people don't know about it, because algae will change your life. It is going to change the world. And algae isn't new. It's just new to you. Because think about it. You didn't know about kiwa or chia or matcha or CBD. Although a lot of these things have been indigenous in other countries for 50 or thousands of years. Algae has been too, but no one's explained it to you. People put it in their smoothie. They didn't know it's a superfood. They're not exactly sure what it does or why it does. I'm here to tell you what it is and what it does. So what is algae? It's a food crop. We call our algae tablets bits because they are bits of food. Here's a spirulina farm. It grows long and narrow. This is fresh water, by the way. Yes, algae is everywhere in the ocean, everywhere in the lakes, the rivers, the streams, the soil, but the two that are harvested as crops are spirulina and chlorella, grown in fresh water. So no ocean toxicity. In fact, even the movie Seaspiracy that Netflix did a couple of years ago said that algae is the way to save the oceans because it's a replacement for a protein that has 3 times the amount of protein as steak, and it's much better for you than fish oil. Where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. So what do? All we do is we grow it in water, we dry it into a powder without high heat. It's very important. We're probably the only company or one of the few that are around that do not use high heat to dry our algae. Why is that important? Because one of those antioxidants we're going to talk about in a minute, superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD, is an enzyme. So when you use high heat to dry it, you kill the enzyme. You're shooting blanks. So all the other companies, because they're lower price, higher volume, they use high heat to dry the algae, get to marketplace quickly. I started the company just to help my sister. And then I wanted to help a few more people. We've never used high heat, so our superoxide dismutase is alive and well. Then we just press them into little tablets without any binders. So why again bits? Bits of nutrition. I have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. 1 to 1,000. The United Nations has endorsed algae since 1974. They had a global conference on spirulina and said it was the answer to world hunger. Why? Because that's 3 times the amount of protein as steak. No carbs. And it takes no work to do it, to make it. 1 tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. No carbs, no cooking, no eating, nothing. You can carry it with you to the gym. You can take it with you on travel. You can take it anywhere. I live on this stuff. I mean, I eat real food, but I don't know what I would eat if I didn't eat this stuff. I eat like literally 100 a day. I'm suggesting probably 10 a day. We'll talk about the 2 different algae because they do quite different things in your body. But so kids, men who hate vegetables, your parents who aren't probably eating very well, you can get that amount of nourishment into them in seconds. Just swallow it down with water, boom, you're done. 0 carbs, ketogenic. It's got everything your body needs. By the way, I found out, I did the analysis and did it, that the amino acid profile of spirulina is virtually identical to mother's breast milk. Identical, same aminos, same proportions, and we know mother's breast milk is the perfect food. Well, algae is the next perfect food. And it's not just me telling you this. There are 100,000 studies documenting this. Stops cancer, stops Alzheimer's, helps with indigestion, helps with inflammation, improves your skin, improves your diet, weight loss. It's just endless, literally endless. That's why when I first started this, this can't be possible. This can't be true. Well, if this is true, why don't people know about it? And that's what people tell me. Why don't I know about it? Because algae doesn't grow here. It's all grown in Asia, and that's where everybody uses it. You didn't grow up driving by an algae farm on your way to work. You might drive by a crappy cornfield or a crappy wheat field, which are absolutely useless to your body and to the environment. But you didn't drive by an algae farm, but they do in Asia everywhere. So the reason you don't know about it is you didn't grow up with it. No one's explained it to you until now, and I am here to do that. So there's two main types of algae that we're talking about. As I mentioned, there's tens of thousands of strains all over the ocean and all over. Don't eat those because they will absorb whatever's in the water and you'll get mycotoxins. No mycotoxins in our algae. I have lab tests to prove it because we grow it in fresh water, triple filtered spring mountain water. But spirulina is basically an energizing and nourishing algae, energizing to your brain, to your body, and to your mitochondria. Chlorella, completely different, and this will satisfy your hunger. Great if you're getting into keto. You won't have keto flu because you won't be hungry or hangry, as they say. Chlorella is a wellness and detox algae. It has the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world. This is the highest concentration of protein in the world. It also has a hard cell wall that pulls out lead, mercury, radiation, all heavy metals, alcohol, lactic acid. So most people take this in the morning because that's when you're tired and hungry and you want to be energized. And most people take chlorella at night because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you sleep. So you want to facilitate that. They do, you can have either one of them any time of day with each other, by themselves, with food, with water, in a smoothie. Most people swallow the spirulina. I won't go into greater detail, but again, these are all in that QR code that you can scan, and I have references like everywhere. But spirulina is a cyanobacteria. Remember that little cell all by itself when it first started? And it's a blue-green algae because it has two pigments in it. Blue one called phycocyanin, which has amazing healing properties, including stopping the growth of blood vessels and tumors. It's called anti-angiogenesis, but it does amazing things, all referenced. And chlorella algae is a green algae because it only has chlorophyll as the pigment in there. And what it does is it strengthens your immune system, removes toxins, improves sleep. By the way, it is a fat-based pigment. The blue one is a water-based pigment. So when you take a fat-based pigment, it's also healing your cell walls. You need healthy fats to heal those cell walls. It's the best protein in the world. Here's a picture of what animal protein is. It's all bound up. Your body can't absorb it like that. It has to break it down to aminos. Then you have collagen powder, which are in smaller clusters called peptides. By the way, algae has more collagen than collagen powder. And it's also sustainable, and it's a complete protein. Collagen powder is missing tryptophan. It's not a complete protein. And your body needs 4 nutrients like zinc, vitamin A, something else, that are all in the algae, and they have to add it to the collagen powder. Do yourself a favor, up level, stop taking collagen powder and start taking algae. Algae gets into your body faster anyways because it's individual aminos. And they have 18 of the aminos, including the 9 that your body can't make, so it's a complete protein. It is the highest protein in the world. Spirulina has the highest, chlorella has the next highest, but compare it to all the other nutrients and some of this, chickpeas you probably wouldn't be eating anyways because too many carbs, but it is an unbelievable source of protein. It's also an unbelievable source of antioxidants. These are all the things these antioxidants do. Antioxidants include all of these, and algae has all of them. And in fact, it has the 4 that you need. These glutathione, melatonin, chlorophyll, and superoxide dismutase that your mitochondria absolutely need if you want to stop the free radical damage in there. And our algae has, I can't say it for everybody, but ours has the highest concentration of all 4 in the entire world. And glutathione is critical. Here's a quote from Dr. Mark Hyman. As you age, as I showed you before, your body is producing less of it. And it is a secret to preventing aging, cancer, heart disease, dementia. And that's a quote from Dr. Hyman, who we love and admire. Glutathione, again, highest concentration in the chlorella. Second highest is in spirulina. Compared to beef, which has 20 milligrams, it has 1,400 times more glutathione than beef. The next one is melatonin. And surprise, melatonin is way more than help you sleep. It's, in fact, not the least important, but there are thousands of other antioxidant benefits to melatonin. And melatonin will not make you sleepy during the day. It's only triggered by nighttime. And melatonin does all sorts of things. They're realizing it's not made just by your pineal gland. It's made by all of your mitochondria and used by all of your mitochondria, including the ones in your stomach. They've realized that there's 400 times more melatonin in your gut than in your pineal gland. Why? Because melatonin helps with the absorption of glucose to control the healing properties in your body when you're sleeping. When older people, as they age, produce less melatonin. So they're not getting sleep, they're not getting the repair cycle. And then they get sick, and they're not sleeping, and they're not getting a repair cycle, and they get sicker. See, constant cycle that we can stop if we can get things like melatonin into our body. And I just was with Dr. John Lawrence at David Basbury's biohacking conference. We did a book signing for him. It's unbelievable what this stuff does. And your body normally would make it for you, but as you age, you get less and less until you have virtually none of it. I work with a lot of sports nutritionists, the Detroit Red Wings. We fuel NHL teams, Olympic teams. And they've always given their athletes tart cherry juice to help with reduce inflammation after a game. Well, guess what? Spirulina has 28,000 times more melatonin than tart cherry juice. So again, you got to up level. You know, we talked about chlorophyll. I don't know if you know this, but chlorophyll, the chemical composition of chlorophyll, virtually identical to your hemoglobin. The trouble is there's virtually no chlorophyll in our food anymore. Why? Because our soils are so damaged. There's nothing for these plants to grow, to pull up. So it's almost impossible for you could fill this room with arugula and you still wouldn't get the same amount of chlorophyll that's probably in one of my little tins of chlorella algae tablets. So it's a very efficient source and clean source of chlorophyll. And again, you can swallow these tablets. And chlorophyll builds your cell walls, builds your blood, cleanses your system. Very, very healing. And the trouble is, you know, nobody's eating plants or fiber and not getting their chlorophyll, and there's virtually no, as I said, no nutrients in our soil, so it's very hard to get. And yes, ta-da, here we are, highest chlorophyll in the world. So chlorella has the highest because it's only one pigment in that one, and spirulina has the second highest, even more than wheatgrass, more than arugula, 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll, so up level. Now here's a big mouthful. You've probably never heard of this, superoxide dismutase. Very, very important antioxidant because it is the key antioxidant that stops the most damaging free radical in your body called superoxide. Superoxide is a part of the ATP, is produced during the ATP production. Why is it so damaging? And I used to read about, I'm constantly reading. Well, I found out why it's the most damaging. Most of your free radicals are when your electron, there's one extra electron, and so it damages tissue or other molecules as it tries to balance itself out. So but it's usually one. Superoxide has 3, so it's 3 times as damaging as any other free radical. And superoxide dismutase turns it into water, stops it and turns into water. And superoxide dismutase has been shown to stop cancer, heart disease, proven in 50,000 studies. Now again, remember, algae has 100,000 studies. These are big numbers though, so it's pretty much a slam dunk that you need superoxide dismutase if you want to stop disease, heart disease, brain disease, any kind of disease, aging. If you want to live to 120 like Dave Asprey and me, you're going to need more superoxide dismutase. The problem is there's virtually none available in food. I think cabbage has like 0.000001%. So our algae has 7,000 times more superoxide dismutase than cabbage. Crazy, right? Crazy that you don't know about this. I just can't believe it. It's just, again, feel like I got a child prodigy. It also has the most collagen, more collagen than collagen powder, and it's a sustainable source of protein, and collagen, of course, is not. I'm really going fast because I'm running out of time. It's a much better source for you for collagen. Fish oil goes rancid by the time you buy it. Don't buy it. Save the ocean, save yourself. Algae is the source of, omega-3, CBD, it does reduce inflammation. Algae does it much better. It's probably, and most gummies and multi-supplements they're made in factories with extracts that your body can't absorb and usually have lots of sugar. Algae will give you everything. Mitochondria are your key to life, and the key to mitochondria is algae. I'm not going to go through this, but it is crazy how important the mitochondria are, and you can read all this. Here's that slide again about, now that you see there's a cell, and you imagine 2 million of these in one cell, and when they are getting damaged, here's an analogy. Think of your body as a building, big skyscraper downtown. And in the building are offices. And think of those offices like your cells. And in those offices, they have lights. Those lights are like your mitochondria. The problem is, as the building ages and the staff, like glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and chlorophyll, start leaving, and they don't get replaced. So as the lights go out in your building, they don't get replaced. So the lights go out, and the lights go out, and the lights go out. And then finally, there's no light in your building. Your offices are empty, and your building is almost dead. The antioxidants that you can find in spirulina and chlorella algae Start turning the lights back on. Start turning the lights back on. Finally, your lights are all back on. Now your cells, your offices are busy again. Your building looks better. People come into it. Your body is something that you manage, just like you manage a building. But you've got to keep those lights on. And you can find a way to turn the lights on. But the problem is people are eating carbs and they're killing all the lights. And your poor mitochondria are suffering. And you've got to reduce the free radicals and remove them. And one of the best ways to do that first is with a keto diet. Because when you have fuel that is fat-based, it produces free radicals. But guess what? There's just a little burp of free radicals from algae or fasting. You can never completely stop free radicals because your body just doesn't function like that. But you can get to virtually zero because also algae, when I can talk to you about this later on, chlorophyll and red light, whether it's red light therapy or sunlight, recycles the CoQ10 molecule in what's called the electron transport chain and generates ATP without food. Pretty sweet, right? So virtually no free radicals. So the first way is to reduce your free radicals. Keto diet's one way. Definitely you want to be doing some intermittent fasting and algae. The second way is to remove the free radicals, because as I mentioned, there's that second membrane that prevents virtually everything that get in there except these four. And this is why. Remember I said about the porins? See that inner membrane? That allows no antioxidants in there except the four that I've talked to you about that are in highest concentration in algae. Glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and chlorophyll. So you've got to get these four into your system, and when you do, your lights start going back on. Superoxide dismutase, as I mentioned, is the key one. It turns that free radical into water. Ta-da! It's like a fireman putting out the fires. Superoxide dismutase puts out the fires. When you don't have fires, you don't have free radicals. When you don't have free radicals, you have healthy and happy mitochondria, and they can keep growing. But it has to be from a raw source of spirulina or chlorella, not from high heat. So if it's not ours, you can also use frozen algae because it has not been exposed to heat, so your superoxide dismutase is alive. So now you've got that flat line of your inflammation, everybody's happy, you've got energy again, your brain is working. We've had 72-year-olds after 2 days on spirulina. They told me they couldn't even get the microwave to work. Their brain fog is gone. So it is truly unbelievable what it will do for you. And I told you about why it came from the same place. Now I won't go through these, but when you have healthy mitochondria, your cell pH is healthy, which keeps cancer from taking place. Otto Warburg just discovered that cancer can only exist in an acidic environment. Algae is the most alkaline food in the world. That's what got me started on all this. You've got to get that alkaline. Your blood is even more alkaline than your cells, but it helps with everything: health, beauty, weight loss, sports. Keto and fasting, it improves that. It improves your brain health. It improves your bone health. It improves your sleep health. It improves your energy and fitness. Note again, I got all these sources, so you can, at your leisure, and please feel free to share this with anybody. It's got everything you need for immune health. It's got everything you need for gut health. They've been using chlorella for decades for IBS and Crohn's disease because of the chlorophyll, the fiber, and the ability to pull out toxins. Helps you with your weight loss, helps prevent type 2 diabetes, which is a terrible cycle because when you have mitochondria dysfunction, you develop insulin resistance, which causes more mitochondria dysfunction, which causes insulin resistance. See this terrible cycle that you get in? You can break the cycle if you stop healing your mitochondria. So you'll have improve your insulin uptake and stop having that issue. I don't have any wrinkles, and I've never had any Botox, and I'll share with you, I just turned 66, and I am a living proof that this stuff works, and I've been eating this for 12 years, and I don't know what I would do without it. It increases your skin collagen, and it protects your skin collagen. And let's not forget that we're part of the earth, and algae is the most eco-friendly, sustainable crop on the world. It provides 80% of the oxygen. It uses a third of water as regular crops. By the way, you only get 1 crop of wheat, 1 crop of corn, 1 crop of regulars of anything a year. Algae takes 30 days to grow. So you can get literally 10 to 12 crops a year. This is the answer to the food crisis that we have in the world. This is the answer to the environmental crisis that we have in the world. And whether you are a proponent of regenerative agriculture, which I am, it's not the cattle that are causing the problem, it's what they're feeding the cattle. Because the cattle they're being fed corn, and they're having stomach distress, as would you, because corn is acidic. And when they have acidic stomach, they have gas, methane, that's 15% of what's causing the ozone layer. They did an experiment. They put algae in the cattle's food crop, problem gone. No farts, no gas. They did the same thing with fish farming. Lots of countries didn't want fish farming because when they gather the fish into these netted areas, the fish poop. And when you have that many fish in a concentrated area, the poop is acidic. So it was killing the ocean area, and it was washing up on shore and killing all the grass, all the life on the shore. So what did they do? Started feeding the fish algae. Problem solved. No more acidic poop. This stuff is crazy. I mean, I could talk to you about algae for 24 hours and not even come close to telling you all the things I know. I was on Shark Tank a number of years ago, and Mark Cuban said to me, well, in the show, and you can watch it still, we don't think that you're in love with being an entrepreneur. You're just in love with algae. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. And my answer to him was, and it's the same now, if you knew as much about algae as I did, you'd be in love with algae too. So what it does for you is crazy. We have 2 brands of spirulina. There's only reason why there's 2. It's because I found out women didn't like my blue packaging, and I started this because of my sister, and it does build your skin and hair. So we have a prettier pink. So I have a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina. I'm not trying to trick anybody. It's just I want to get this stuff into you. Chlorella is the green one. It's a green algae. That's why it's packaged in green. It's the wellness algae. We have a blended one with half spirulina, half chlorella, and it's unbelievable. Join the algae train. Give your mitochondria some love.